gorgeous faces. It's so good to see you. I'm before I even do the introductions, I want to digress and put one of our guests in the spotlight, even though I didn't warn them that I was going to. I see that Diane Perry is here, and out of pure guilt at the fact that I haven't had my chance to write a review yet on Audible, she's written a book about energy and voice acting and how to show up in the booth. And oh my God, the appreciation as a narrator for what you've done for us, for me personally, is so there, Diane. Swear I'll write that review someday.
Please don't worry about it. Thank you, Daniela. That's so sweet.
It's amazing.
And unexpected. I was just going to be in the background.
No, it's amazing. I know. Don't worry. I normally don't pick you guys up. Don't worry if you're sitting there in your pajamas going, oh crap, I hope she doesn't call on me. But
you haven't seen the bottom of me. You haven't seen like from the waist down.
Well, you look wonderful as well. And it had to be said, it was an amazing, amazing book. So thank you very much. So on to the call, everyone. Hello, hello. Smiling, happy, shiny faces. Diane, we got you on mute. People are joining still as we speak. Guys, this is going to be different than the calls we're used to. This is going to be a joint call between Anna and I. Anna, can you please shout out so that I can get you on video just real quick, and then I'll...
Hello, hello.
Okay,
1, 2, 1, 2.
There you go. Anna and I are accountability partners, and I can't tell you how much that has changed the trajectory of my career. And not only that, I've made a friend that has changed who I am as a person. And I hope she's learned from me. I know I've learned so much from Anna. And we keep having these conversations. Some of our conversations, yeah, we're not going to be recording, sticking on YouTube. But some of them, we just, when you're talking to a good friend that's doing the same kind of thing, has the same passions as you do, and you go, oh my God, yes. And here's the subtle nuance of this, and oh my God. And so many times we've said, we should share this on a Joe call. I wish someone had told us this 5 years ago. So this is Anna and I. We're going to kind of hit on the big things that we figured out, always years after we wished we had figured them out, and maybe give you guys a shortcut or two. As always, feel free. As always, I don't care about questions like what's your favorite genre and all. Basically, questions you can find on Google or in a class. But if you have a quirky question or a weird question, put question in the headlines and we will sneak it in during the call. The stranger, the better. So everyone, this is Anna Clements, my renowned, gorgeous, prolific, talented accountability partner. Anna.
Hello.
What's going on?
It's lovely to see everybody. It's true what you said, though. We have sort of our weekly and sometimes daily, depending on the time of year, conversations, and we end up coming up with all these things that really ought to be printed on T-shirts or stuck on a billboard, or I have to write them on a Post-it note. My booth is covered in little bits of information to just remind me to stop for a second and remember where I'm at or what I'm up to. So I'm hoping, yes, today will be a sharing of all those things, which might hopefully be useful to other people with any luck.
Yes. And can I ask you, so do you want to start with your first epiphany, or do you want me to start?
I to be honest, you've caught me off guard. Epiphanies, I think that it's funny, they tend to be epiphanies afterwards, don't they? In the moment, I'm not sure that I recognize them, but for the one I always talk about is my reluctance to move from audacity and clicking with my fingers to punch and roll. I thought I was a year or two into my career and I knew what I was doing, and I had a system and it was working for me, and everybody was saying you need to punch and roll, and I'm like, no, you don't understand, I'm actually really, really good at this. I don't think you know. And it wasn't until after I had taken the time to spend a good 3 or 4 months being a complete newbie again. And I think that's what this whole career for me is about, is the acknowledgement every so often that you don't know everything, and you have to become a complete beginner again, which is a really strange sensation when all we're doing is striving to be better.
Yeah.
To take a moment to stop and back up. Sometimes I find that really hard, but it's been those 3 or 4 times that I've done that you then launch yourself into that next section. And I really enjoy that. So how about you? Have you got a story or a moment?
Well, but I want to, oh my God, what you've just said, is because the other thing about this job is you have to work on your confidence. You have to like convince yourself all the time that you really do know what you're doing and that you're quite good. And you have to like, and you're always conscious that you can't feel like you're crap. You have to feel like you're good. So then when you do what you just said, I had recently had another instance of that, where you have to like do something differently and learn it in a different way. Like every time, we've all several times in our careers had to change our sound, etc., you know, to go up to the next level. And every time you do it, you're like, you're wallowing around in that uncomfortable new beginnerness, like until your fingers are sticky with it. And it feels kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because our jobs are to like try not to feel like losers with all the pressures of like, you know, rejection, reviews, maybe not getting what you want when you want it, looking like the rest of so, but then we have to purposefully stick ourselves in a situation.
It's really vulnerable, isn't it? And I was saying to somebody who's just joined the call actually the other day that I've been fascinated by how much confidence affects your voice. So when you go into the booth to do a project that you're not necessarily that comfortable with, or you feel a little out of your depth, it affects the performance. And that acknowledgement, and as you were saying about Diane's book, which talks about this, you know, that awareness of being able to walk in and go, this is what I do. This is who I am. I narrate audiobooks for a living. So give me your project, I'll take it on and I'll do my very best with it and it will be good enough. And that package creates a sound that is really different from, I wonder how this is going to turn out. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I don't really know what I'm up to. And that idea of that, removing that doubt is such a big deal. And I think it's what we actually spend a lot of our time here on Cup of Joe doing, is raising people up. I'm trying to think who talks about, I went on a course, I'm very big on free webinars, and the lady was talking about up leveling. And I thought that's so cool because it's a constant level up, isn't it? We're just always looking for that next idea or that next step up or that next step forward to just help us be bigger and rounder and more accomplished and, you know, create a better product.
But then do you not, and this has been my recent thing that I've noticed, because I've been like that my whole life, like a little girl looking at beauty books. Scavulo, the photographer, did this big beauty book with all these women, and they gave interviews about like their beauty secrets and their lifestyle secrets and how they stayed gorgeous and perfect and fit. You know, Bianca Jagger, because, you know, she had so many challenges in life, these, you know, but my whole life I've been chasing those up leveling and what you can learn and hacks, and there's got to be a better way to do it. But, and we all do it, I notice, narrators, but also then how far are we chasing it? Because I look at Sean Pratt and Johnny Heller, and a big reason they, and Hillary Huber, and I remember Hillary saying, oh, you don't want too much Hillary, and I was like, we all love too much Hillary. But that thing you said about the confidence in the booth, it's like being confident as people, and they all have, that's why we flock to them, because they have that je ne sais quoi, you know, that they're a character.
Yes,
they're their own character. And so how much up leveling, I see people searching and wanting the answer and doing this and taking all the advice, and then when do we stop and look at ourselves?
it's fascinating, isn't it? I'm obsessed at the moment with so, you know, back up 30 years, and I wanted to be a creative. I wanted to be within the creative industry. I wanted to be a singer. My parents thought otherwise. I studied economics and got into office work. And I'm aware that I was seeking external validation. I was waiting to be discovered. I thought if I was actually that good, somebody would stop me and make me a star. You know, I saw fame. I was, you know, a child in the 80s. I knew how it worked, and apparently that's not how it works. It's actually just hard work. It's commitment. It's constancy. It's an ongoing dedication to the thing you love. And I really wish somebody told me that, because that's all I've been doing for the last 6 years. That ongoing dedication to a thing I'm passionate about has led me to meet fantastic people and discover wonderful things about me and about other people and about this entire industry that we all share. So I almost feel, sometimes I'm sad that I didn't get here sooner. And sometimes I realize that I needed to wait till now. You know, sometimes the time is always right. And the frustration of not being able to move forward or not being able to find that thing that drives you on, it's because you're not ready or the world isn't ready, you know. And I think sometimes that internal validation is really important. Not looking for other people to say, you're ready now, you should do this. The person who has to believe it is you. And that took me a really long time to realize.
And to see, that brings me to what the epiphany I had, which Anna actually was responsible for. So actually, I don't think I had the epiphany. Anna had it for me, and then I just blindly followed. The money, because I kept from a corporate job wanting to know how I was going to pay my mortgage. And I heard people say, don't be stupid and jump off a cliff. Of course, keep a survival job. So I kept, and for the record, guys, don't just go quit your survival job because Daniela said so, because this was for me. I don't know about your circumstances, but I kept, Anna knows, I took some horrible survival jobs, and I couldn't do corporate work because that was full-time soul destroying. So I tried fun part-time, just so I know I can pay the rent jobs. And I think Anna might have gotten sick of me, kind of, because I couldn't narrate. I was so unhappy and scattered, going out and dealing with the hoi polloi and then having to come home and like be an artist. And Anna said, how are you? Anna said, look at the amount you're making per hour and then the amount of work you're losing by not focusing and not narrating, and then look at exactly what you would have to get paid per hour for a book, and see if you can book enough books before you go off and look for another part-time job. And I never looked back from that point on, ever. And it was right in front of my bloody face. It was right. I mean, if I could please just get Anna to like say something smart about dieting, all my life's problems would be fixed. But it sometimes, and that's why I don't write in journals. It's what you said. It's, you might not find it out until you're ready for it. That pisses me off, because then I think of all the wasted time. I don't want to look back at how stupid I was.
You see, I don't think of it as wasted time. And I think that's the really important part. Yeah. All of it's a learning curve. All of it is you learning not to do it. You know, that famous quote about Edison saying that he, you know, discovered the light bulb, but what he actually discovered was 1,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. And I just think that's wonderful, because the concept isn't about my family. The reason I didn't become a singer at 19 was because my family was about not failing. And if you didn't try, you couldn't fail. So they took the easy path, the path that came naturally. I was good at maths. I studied economics. I worked in an office. I did finance. It was easy. And I was having this chat the other day with somebody else, Sarah Hannum, who said she was in her corporate job because she didn't hate it. And I thought, that's actually not good enough. You know, if we strive for not hating it, most of us are living below our average. And I think a lot of us are, you know, whether it's in relationships or in our jobs or in the places we live, or we don't make decisions or move forward because it isn't terrible. And I'm not sure that it isn't terrible is a great way to be living your life. And I think that's what shifted me at, you know, midlife, from an office career into this creative career, which is actually really scary. As you said, coming from a world where, again, external validation, somebody else paying your bills, somebody else giving you money at the end of every month, regardless. You know, you might not meet targets, you might not turn up at work every day, you might be late, which I always was, you know, because I hated my job, and yet they still paid me. And that kind of comfort is bizarrely, I didn't hate it. And then when you realize you could actually love it, I didn't know that was an option. And I think that was the shift for me. The fact that it could be an option, and the fact that there was still maths to be had. I was under the impression a creative life was, you know, I had to go live in some hovel and eat bread that I'd made myself with grain I'd grown because I'd have no money. And
because that's, you know, the starving artist. It's a fable.
Absolutely.
It's not even true.
Absolutely.
We're not in France doing absinthe and, you know, shooting up drugs. If we were that exotic, it'd be fun being a starving artist. But it's not a thing now. We have the internet.
Before I met Sean Pratt, I read his book, which is the 10 things. I forget what the actual subtitle is, but it's basically the 10 things that differentiate a starving actor from a thriving creative, as it were. And each of those things is that example. It's that idea that you take a job that's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, that doesn't allow you enough space and creative energy to actually go home and then record books. So what you need is a job that doesn't stress you out, so that you can then dedicate, because actually being a creative's strangely exhausting.
Yeah.
The emotional energy required and the nervous energy that goes into making the things that we make. As a before creative, I was under the impression that it was kind of an aside. You know, it was like playing the guitar. You could pick it up, you could put it down. It was an ongoing thing. But actually, when you do it well, like we do, it's dedication. There's real energy that goes into it.
And oh my God. And that, right? So right there, that is what I was thinking of today. Exactly. Oh my God, you're so smart. So if anyone, I don't complain about this ever since the time I mentioned noise, and some lovely person, hope they're not on the call, advised me that because my booth wasn't properly soundproofed and should have been hanging from the middle of the room to really be soundproof, that I have no right to complain about noise, because obviously I wasn't professional. So now I'm really, really touchy about ever admitting that there's any noise. But I'm sorry, noise happens, and we've got drilling that is shaking our building underneath my window, and I've been up all night recording, right? And it's killing. And so today I might have had a tiny, and I told Anna, I'm getting on this call talking about like how to do work properly. I might have had a tiny moment where I was like, forget this. And I stuck some AC/DC and ZZ Top on as loud as I could, slammed doors and screamed, because it felt good to make the noise for once, because they've been waking me up at 7:30 every morning with it nonstop. Long story short, I realized that all the external things can happen, right? And literally our job and all our conversations and everything we've been doing is what you said, and this is, I think, is why it makes it so exhausting, is because our job is being people, showing up as like facing ourselves every single day. And as Diane says, I'm going to keep bringing you up, poor Diane, she's trying to hide, managing the energy, who we show up energetically as in the world, because that's how we do our job. That's our biggest challenge. And all these external things can hit us, but we have to show up. When you have a corporate job, nobody gives a what your energy is. They couldn't care less, as long as you don't wear anything that's noticeable or inappropriate and you nod your head at the right time. That's it. That's all they care about. But in this job, if you've got like a crack of emotion, it'll hurt your throat. If you've got tension or worry, it'll give you a migraine. If you go in the booth and you're unhappy and you're doing a romance, you have to show up like completely open, bare, raw, and bleeding. And then we wonder why we're tired. Wow, that got deep really quick.
I'm really big on reminding people that, and Jim Siebert is a great one for talking about this, about the fact that we might not necessarily be experts at our craft, but today, in this moment, we're the best we can be. And that's all anybody can ask. And I absolutely love that, because the idea that a lot of people search, you know, to be Scott Brick, to be Johnny Heller. And actually, I don't know that anybody should be trying to be anybody else. I think the epitome of these jobs that we do is being the best us. Because the reason we get employed to read each of the books that we get is because we very specifically fit that profile.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's that whole thing about, you know, when people get jobs and then they worry about, you know, I've got the job, but maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I shouldn't be doing it. Maybe, you know, and all those doubts that, you know, come to us when actually we spend all of our time saying, if you got the job, it's because it was you they wanted.
Yeah.
And that's the point at which the confidence is then going to carry you through. That the sound behind that, feeling behind that, is what makes your voice uniquely you.
Yeah. Owning,
so go in and be you.
Owning you. And you're saying, and I'll let Anna answer thoroughly, but I do have a real quick comment. You didn't write question in front, so I won't announce your name just in case you didn't want anyone to hear it. But on the subject of internal validation, it is inevitably affected by other people. I asked Anna in a clubhouse room recently, when you know you were good enough to put your work in front of producers and publishers, since there's only one first impression. I just have two quick comments to make about this, Anna, if that's okay, and then I'll hand this over to you. And Anna was very encouraging at doing so. Now, since one is always going to get better and there's a danger of waiting to pursue your passion. Then I asked my coach, who said I wasn't quite ready, but I am very close. So it does. Okay, so I have two quick things to say. First of all, Tanya said my favorite thing is her like final words on her call, Tanya Eby. She said, you do not only get one chance to make a first impression. And think about it. Honestly, how many zillions of letters do they get every single day? And can I remind you about the publisher that I sent the message meant for my sister to, saying that I was getting so fat I'd have to be taken out of my house with a forklift? They're still nice to me. I ended up getting them for Business Diagnostic and confessing the whole thing, even though she hadn't remembered me and hadn't seen the letter. So all you do, if you make a bad first impression, I don't think you can make a bad first impression if you go out with your hand on your heart, do the best you can, act professional, don't be an asshole, and be a nice person. We're all human beings. Nobody's going to like hate you forever. And then the other thing about asking somebody if you're ready or if you're good enough, you're never, ever, I can tell you right now, just might as well tell you, you're not ready. You're never, ever, ever, ever going to be ready. And you can be doing this for 50 years and somebody is going to think, oh my God, you sound horrible. And daily people think I sound horrible. They get very strong reactions. Some people love me and some people hate me. And usually there's no in between with my voice or anything. I don't think anyone else can ever tell you. A good judge can guide you and help you and answer your questions. I think you have to tell you when you're ready, and you have to do your best work and keep doing it and keep doing it bravely and take the next step and trust yourself, which is hard in the beginning. Over to you, Anna. That was two.
Yeah, no, yes to all of that. And I'm fascinated. I mean, I've been doing this sort of probably about 6 years, maybe 7, on and off, you know, initially part-time and wondering, you know, if I was ever going to be good enough. And then 2017, I went full-time, and I am aware that every voice has a job. So you may only have one job, or you may get 100,000 jobs. And that's the key. That's the bit none of us ever know. And as you switch and change, you become available, in inverted commas, for another job. So I know someone who is from a very small village in a country who has a very particular accent. And we were having conversations about whether or not that particular accent was suitable, for want of a better word, for audiobook narration. And I am always encouraging, because the very next day they got an 11-hour book written by a lady about a woman who died and was very famous, who came from that village. I'm like, what are the chances What are the chances that somebody wanted that voice? And it was, she was perfect for it, and it worked, and she got the job, and then went on and studied more and learned different accents and how to, you know, interpret differently, and now does other work and is a very successful narrator. And you go, initially, you would have looked at that person and gone, yeah, sorry. And what I realize is that we're all just really judgmental. Yeah. We are really judgmental of other people, of ourselves, and actually, we're all running our own races. This isn't about the girl next to me who's already done 17 books this week and I'm still on my first one. Because I spent so much of my time initially going, I'm not creating 84 books a year. Therefore, can I really call myself an audiobook narrator? And you go, do you know what? We're all running our own races. We all have different lives. We have different expectations. We have different demands on our time. We have, and even as we're going through this career, you know, our parents get older, our children leave home, our pets die, we get new pets, you know, shit happens. And pardon me. And sometimes it's convenient, and sometimes nothing is going on in your life and you produce 7 books. And you go, yes, I produced 7 books this time, but in a minute I'll need more space and I won't be able to. Yeah. And so I always feel like that idea of measuring yourself against somebody else, or asking somebody else's opinion about whether you're ready,
or ticking the boxes, or trying to hit the milestones. It's what Johnny Heller told me when I was like, I was doing it. So I'm saying this, but up until like a week ago, I was doing it. Sorry, I completely cut you off, by the way. Sorry. I was doing it up until like a few weeks ago with my spreadsheet of publishers, and getting advice from every different coach on earth about how to word the letter in the magic formula so that they would give me the magic jobs. So I would be the person that reached the magic level that you're supposed to reach at the magic number of books. And I was past that number. And why wasn't I at the magic level? Everyone else got to roll the dice and hit that level. And Johnny Heller said in that lovely way, he said, "Are you really that malleable?" And I was so offended. Everyone's heard this a million times, because it immediately shocked me out of the way I'd been thinking. Like, what do I think? What am I going to say? So I don't listen to the rules so much.
I love that, because you said that what he came back with basically was, what does Daniela think? What do you think about Daniela? And I think ultimately that's the question we need to be asking, not does my coach think I'm ready, or does my mother think I can be a singer, or which she doesn't and still doesn't, by the way. That's a whole nother story. But there are very specific things we can measure. You know, if you don't have a microphone and you've read a couple of bedtime stories to your children and you want to know whether you can apply to Penguin Random House, there's a bit of a gap there. Yeah. And you go, okay, maybe you're not ready. But actually, if you're within this industry and you're doing the work, you know, you may not feel ready, or you may be worried about not being ready, but actually somebody said to me the other day was talking about demos, and they were querying, the question was asked was, which genre should she pick to do a demo with? And I said, I don't know. What genres would you like to read? And she said, I don't know. And I said, okay, you need to back up. There's no demo here. You need to investigate the industry. You need to find out what genres, not what genres you enjoy reading, but what genres your voice fits into. And that's the journey. You know, when you know where your voice sits within the industry, what the producers are looking for. And I think that was my another, you're talking about pivotal moments. That was another pivotal moment for me. When I started questioning what authors were looking for and what producers actually wanted, instead of, could I be as good as Andy Arndt? You know, it's a different mindset. And suddenly you go, the producers get 1,000 books a year that they need to create audiobooks out of. So they have every 3 months, they get 300 books turn up on their desk that need producing. Now, they don't want to know that I think I might be ready, or that I could do an Italian accent if they wanted, when the book they've got is German. You know, the whole thing is just matchmaking. So
Yeah.
ultimately, if the book that happens to come across their desk fits my profile and I can complete it by the deadline to the quality, I'm as ready as the next person. And
Yeah.
that's what it boils down to. So the whole,
Yeah.
and if you're questioning, so I don't know, the person who was asking, I don't know whether you're ready. And maybe you don't know either. But the question you need to be asking isn't, does somebody else think I'm ready? It's, if you've ticked all the boxes and your demo fits the profile and somebody offers you work, then you're already ready. You know,
And-
you might not be Penguin Random House ready, you might not be Hachette ready, but you
Yeah.
might be Dayan ready or Lyric Audio. You know, there are so many different production houses and indie authors looking, and again, all at different levels, looking for different voices and different people. There is enough work for everybody. And I think that's the other thing that blows my mind about this industry, is that when you look at the numbers, the statistics of the number of books that are produced compared to the number of books that are produced as audiobooks, every moment there are more books waiting to be turned into audio.
Yeah.
So it isn't for lack of work. There really is enough work out there. And it's when we start thinking, if she got that book, then what work is there for me? You know, somebody just got a 12-book series. Well, that's another 12 books I
It's
didn't get.
scarcity. It's like there's a limited amount of, and rather than being the recipient of energy and abundance, our job is we're creators. We're supposed to create it. And also our job, and I've noticed this with everything, and I'm having to check my personality because I might sound like a hypocrite telling you this, as Anna knows me the last 5 years, I'm the worst, and it ties to so many things. When you're in the booth, you shouldn't be speeding ahead. You should be in the moment, right? When you're in your career, you shouldn't be speeding ahead. You should be honoring the job that's right in front of you and enjoying it and learning to bring joy to right there. Who are you in this moment? Because that's you refining your craft. If you refine your craft and become, what is that book, so good that they can't afford to ignore you? That's what our job is to do. Then sending the letters to the publishers will come from a place of confidence from this strong, good person. But then another thing, and I'm not saying this to offend anyone because we're all trying, but it's a very shallow way of trying when you're new and you try by trying to manage other people's perception of you in the business. You see social media, and I know people that are new. They have 1 or 2 books, maybe royalty share books, and they spend a lot of energy trying to convince everyone, oh, I'm very busy too, I'm doing. It's all nonsense. It's a waste of your time. If you've got 1 royalty share book, honor where you are. I've got 1 royalty share book. I'm at the very beginning of this like thing that I love. So much to learn. Be proud of where you are right now. Be proud of the line you're reading in the book right now. Be proud of the book you're working on right this minute, even though it's a book about light bulbs and it's only an hour and a half long and it's royalty share. I'm not saying go out and get that book, but I'm saying if that's the book you're working on right now, do the best damn light bulb book you can ever do. Okay, we've got a question. I'm getting off on one, so let's Sarah says, I doubt I'll ever sign up for speed dating or director diagnostics for all the I'm never going to be ready reasons, yet I'm attending Johnny Heller's New England retreat this October. Is this crazy? Am I going to embarrass myself? I'm going to hand that one over to Anna because I know she has so much to say about it.
I do. Because it always comes back to the same thing. It comes back to, let me start at the beginning. I heard a quote yesterday, which I wrote down because I was going to forget it, that somebody said, you're not a voice that happens to have a business. You're a business specializing in narration services. And it's that idea of flipping the mindset and going, it's not you're selling. You know, this isn't in answer to Sarah's question. This is a general statement. So it isn't you personally you're selling. When an author says you're not right for my book, it's not because she hates you. When they tell you that they went with somebody else and not with you, it's not because they think you're rubbish. It's not because he can't bear to speak to you ever again. And it doesn't mean that the next book might not be yours. And that concept is hugely important because as a creative, everything's really personal. You know, you are delivering part of you. You're making yourself vulnerable, putting yourself out there for people to shoot you down. You're actually making yourself available to be told how rubbish you are. You're also making yourself available to be told how wonderful you are. And that section of the game is a really difficult one, a really fine line to walk, because if you're waiting for people to tell you how brilliant you are, or to tell you how rubbish you are so you can step away and go, you see, I shouldn't be doing this. That's why I shouldn't be here. You need to work out the reason you're doing it. And when I realized that actually I was doing it for me, that I would do it even if nobody paid me, that I would do it even if nobody listened to the books I was recording, because what I loved was the moment sitting behind the mic, pretending to be a French vineyard owner and some tourist who happens to come up and they fall in love and it's just wonderful. And I come out of the booth going, oh my God, the sun's shining and I've been in here for 4 hours. And I didn't even realize. And all those moments are the reason I do this. So going back to the original question, as a general statement, Johnny Heller's retreat is probably one of the safest places to be, because it's 3 days of hanging out with 40 to 60 other narrators and producers who happen to be quite tired from traveling, wondering what the food's going to be like, wishing it would stop raining so they can go for a walk. Everybody is just chilling. And then on top of that, you happen to be in breakout rooms with other narrators, learning about people, making friends you'll keep for life. It's a great, every one of these workshops that we all do and the conferences we go to, it's about making friends. You know, people talk about networking and the importance of getting your name out there or being remembered, or it's about making friends. And I always come back to the same analogy of being at primary school and not playing with every single kid in the class. You know, there were children in my class I didn't even speak to, most of whose names I can't remember now. And I didn't want to be friends with them, but they were still kids in my class. And it's the same thing within the industry. There are publishers I will never work for because I don't read American Christian audio, or I can't do a good enough American accent to do political books, or, you know, there are so many books that I will never do. And therefore people I don't need to be friends with. And then there are other people I just click with who have a similar dress style to me, or who have the same age children as I have, or whose favorite breed of dog is the same as mine. You know, whatever that thing happens to be, that moment of connection, such that when one of those 300 books lands on their desk, they go, oh, that girl in the green jumper, she likes terrier dogs. We should give her the book about the terrier. Yeah. You know, when you take a moment to think about how these things actually come to be and how you live your life. You know, the reason you shop at a particular shop is because the guy on the door always smiles at you, or the lady on the till always says hello to you, or they have your brand of beans in the second aisle and then you don't have to go much further into the store. People do stuff because it's easy. So when you're friends with someone and they have a book land on their desk and they could offer it to that guy who's a real arse, who they don't really enjoy speaking to, or you, who they had a great conversation with, or who you remember sharing the fact that you both drive a yellow car, it's an easy choice. And when you flip it and you realize that those people are just people, and that actually working together is what we're doing, you're not looking for them to help you out. You're not looking for them to pay your bills. You're looking to take a job off their hands, so it's one less thing to worry about. And the reason you're ready or not ready is because you can do that. You can take that job, do it to deadline, to the quality required. If you're ticking those boxes, you're ready. This isn't really about, I always say to everybody, there's an assumption of talent. There's an assumption that you can speak out loud. And that's it. Because actually, all voices are wanted, all accents are required. You know, I'm currently doing a book where the gentleman in the book is has autism, and the lady he falls in love with is from El Salvador and doesn't speak very good English. I'm playing the lady from El Salvador. Better say that quick. But when you think about the stuff we do and the characters that we portray, the books are written about everybody, and we are everybody. Yeah.
That's what they said as actors. They're always going to need older and also the thing with reviews. I'm sorry, when nobody has ever gotten the important part of that. I don't read my own reviews. I have someone check them for me. And everyone thinks that's, oh, she doesn't want to see the bad reviews. I'm actually not so concerned with the bad reviews. The good reviews are just as bad for you, because somebody telling me I'm great is just as false and causes you to seek external validation. And then you start chasing it like a puppy dog with its tongue hanging out of its mouth. You know, please, 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 someone liked me. If you take a review seriously, you're not connecting to your inner voice, in my opinion. I know that there are specific things you need to pull from your reviews, and I have somebody check mine for me, right? We check each other's, but I don't need to hear the eloquent 6 hours of chat somebody eating Domino's pizza that's been upset about their life has to say about, you know, they're a stranger. You can only take so much in.
I think also as time goes by and you get more and more reviews, I'm finding now that I get reviews that say, I couldn't listen to this book for a second longer. Who hired this woman? And 2 lines down, it says, I would listen to anything Anna Clements narrates. She's amazing. I go, one of you's lying. You know?
Yeah. But,
what the hell's going on here?
But some people think that the bad review is bad and the good review is great, and we all want them. The good review is just as bad as the bad review if you take it seriously.
And the reason we all get work is because this whole industry is so subjective, which again is why you play with particular kids in the playground. You know, they're the people you get on with. It's the genre you enjoy. It's the space that you fit into within this industry. And therefore, those are the books you're going to get. And I think that's the key is when you find out, when you're sufficiently self-aware and you find out where you fit within the industry, and you can make use of the fact that you have that particular style of voice or you read in that particular manner. That's the key to actually being able to move on with your career. And regardless of, you know, the Amazon reviewers, you're able to understand where you fit and what you can provide. And it's that being of service, isn't it? It's that allowing yourself to help somebody, and that person happens to be a producer of audiobooks.
Yeah. And being true to yourself and being able to say, hey, this unapologetically.
You see, finding that niche, being good at what you do, then specific to what you do is so important. You know, there's no need to be able to read memoirs and sci-fi and romance and horror and, you know, pick and choose what you do and then find out who the producers are that hire for those books and sell yourself to that person. Because those are the people who will want to hire you.
And the stronger you get of that picture, the more you get to know yourself and your talent. And James, that's a good point. And that's what I was saying. That's what I have somebody check my reviews for. James Romick says, reviews are only important if there's some kind of consistency to them, like the breath sounds were annoying, or this narrator constantly mispronounced such and such word. It is helpful to have somebody objective listen to watch your reviews. You want something in case Sean said, I can't remember what it was he caught, that he was doing something and it came up in his reviews and he learned through that. I just prefer to have my feedback come from another professional that I trust, that's going to give me just the bullet point in case I need to know something. I don't need to know everyone's opinion. But that's exactly right, James. That's a good, that's what I think.
I'm also quite fascinated by the coaching thing, you know, you know, different people going to different coaches. Having studied with probably a good sort of at least 60% of the coaches within the industry, at least once, I'm fascinated by the fact that I get totally conflicting advice. And I think if you sat with a single coach waiting to complete that entire project or course or whatever, and only took that person's advice, all you've done is actually narrow your field of vision. Because I think working with lots of different people and lots of different producers and lots of different other narrators and going to workshops and trying speed dating and director's diagnostics is actually just about learning more about yourself, about the industry, about where you are in this moment. And that whole first impression thing. I could introduce myself today to Brian Barney at Blackstone, or I introduced myself 2 years ago to Guy from Macmillan, who is British And I said, I'm very pleased to meet you. Absolutely thrilled to be able to be here today and let you know that I'm always available for anything at all. Would be really happy to work with you. Think you're fabulous. Thank you very much.
And your accent's so much more British. Just
and he said,
Anna RP.
Yeah, absolutely. And he said, oh, I already have lots of British voices, but thanks. I was absolutely devastated. And suddenly it's dawned on me, he's not the only producer in the entire world. I'm very happy that he doesn't want to work with me, and I'm glad that he has enough British voices. Lots of people don't, and I can work for them instead. And so it's remembering that the moments that knock you back are only as important as the moments that push you forward. I think we are, as humans, so accustomed to taking the negative and exploding it so that it never happens to us again. You know, it's that whole woolly mammoth thing, isn't it? You know, we're looking for the things that might knock us back so that we can protect ourselves. We're looking to make sure that the bad stuff doesn't catch us off guard or happen, you know, without us realizing. And it's that focus on the negative can be detrimental. And actually, we don't focus as much on the positive, do we? We don't spend as much time worrying about the good stuff. What if I get a book?
The bad stuff helps. Doesn't the bad stuff, I mean, because that book, okay, I'm going to say, I won't say names or anything. The day after my bird died, if anyone knows me, that's a big deal in my life. That was like a constant companion for 7 years, literally 24 hours a day. I don't have kids. That was my baby. It was brutal. The day after, I got given a book on wildlife and the extinction and the killing of the birds. And unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, it was extremely well written. And I spent the entire week crying, not during recording the book. Don't worry, I didn't ruin the book, but it was the hardest, most brutal, emotional experience at a very hard time. And it changed me and made me so much stronger and so much better. And it was horrible. And worrying about money when I started was horrible. Like horrible, worrying about like money and taking the risk. And do you not find that the most horrible times are the times that like you come out the other side better?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I went through a very depressive episode sort of 12, 15 years ago. And one of the things I'm very sort of analytical. I spend most of my time sort of pulling things apart and trying to put them back together. And one of the things that my counselor said to me was, for every negative thought you have, I need you to write down 3 positive ones. And at the time, that was incredibly hard. You know, I would hang up with the phone with my mother and go, you know, she absolutely hates me. Then I go, no, maybe she misunderstood what I said and therefore she misinterpreted my, you know, and actually having to spend the time finding positives where you automatically find negatives makes you realize that there are other options. There are other reasons things happen. And even the whole, you know, when I'm not ready, when you sit down and go, okay, what do I have to do to be ready? When will I be ready? And you realize that actually, if it was up to me, I'd never be ready. I would die trying, because you can spend your whole time going, I don't know enough, or I haven't met enough people, or I haven't read enough books, or I'm not sufficiently experienced in whatever it is. There are always reasons you won't be ready. But at this moment in time, this is the best you there is. And if the best you there is today is being given this book or being offered this opportunity, it's because you are ready. You are enough. It is your time.
And what does ready look like? Because you and I both know, and I will not say this publicly, but I chased something for 5 years that was eluding me and pissing me off because it wasn't eluding anyone else. And you and I both know that I kept saying, when I get this, I'll be happy. And then I got it. And I was like, no, that doesn't count because I didn't really get it this way. And then I got it this way. I was like, well, that doesn't count because it didn't come in this package with the bow on top, right? It was, what is the ready? Which goal are we actually, and how are we going to recognize it when we see it? And then are we going to give ourselves credit for it? Or are we going to be off?
And the excuses we make for the reasons things don't happen. You know, I remember at the beginning, particularly, I would go to different coaches and say, you know, I've been to another coach and he says I should do this, or she says I should do that. What do you think? And they would give me a third or a fourth option. And I'd be like, no, I'm looking for the right way. I need you to tell me if I do A, B, and C, then I can be D. And I didn't understand that that's not how this industry works. And it's not how life works. I don't look for that anywhere else. You know, I don't expect that anywhere else. And so it's just fascinating that we actually go looking for that. You know, we go looking for.
We want the safe. We want the safe. I want it on a spreadsheet. I don't want. The times I found the right way was that time lying in the fetal position on the ground, frantically sending out cold contacts on Amazon. That was a really eye-opening night. Or we could learn something from the starving artist, you know, the 3 a.m. when you wake up and your brain reminds you that you're going to be dead and starts doing the math on how many years you have left and like trying to calculate all your ancestors like lifespans.
Okay, that's just you, Daniela.
No, but I think in the last few years, I don't think I'm the only one that's kind of stared a couple of like sleepless nights. But those are the times I think it's the bravery. And then the next step, the one that I'm having a really hard time with, is I've gotten good at being brave, right? I have, facing this stuff, even though every once in a while Anna gets a, can you talk right now? But what I'm not good at yet, and I really want to unpack, which is why I'm thinking back to school and I'm starting September, is, you know, when you're a kid and it's the beginning of a new year and you really do, you know, without a shadow of a doubt that this year could be the beginning of your life. Like things, you could be popular, you could like look gorgeous, things could really happen for you this year because all bets are off. You're now 8 or 9 or, you know, whatever year was, you know, and I want that because I'm finding that the one element is joy. If you can, any moment, what do I have to do to win this hour? What do I have to do to win this minute? You know, what can I, because it's not so easy because you've got like a lifetime of experience of things going wrong. And I want to teach myself joy again, because when you teach yourself joy, everything's easier.
Also, the thing you said about a lifetime experiences of things going wrong, I think the assumption there is because you have this lifetime of things going wrong, then things are bound to go wrong. But actually, not unlike Edison, maybe a lifetime of things going wrong mean that you've been practicing for things to go right. And that, again, that shift of mindset is what propels you forward. Again, at the beginning of my career, I would go to particular coaches and I would say, you know, I'm just worried that maybe I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not sure if I'm good enough and I don't know, you know, where I fit or how I should do this. And I would read and they'd say, oh, no, you're very good. And I'd think, oh, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. I'll have to go find somebody else. And looking back now, I'm like, what was I doing? I was negating the other people's experience because I didn't believe in me. And it wasn't until I turned the camera inwards and went, hang on a second, if it's important to me, and when I listen back, there are times now when I narrate and I listen back and I forget it's me. And I love that, you know, because I'm hearing the story, because the character's really cool. I'm like, oh, that was a good voice. Oh, I did that voice. You know, it's those moments. And I know it happens to everybody because we spend that time at the beginning going, is that really me? Is that really what I sound like?
Remember that book I listened to? And later I listened to one of Anna's books, and it's not even flattering how shocked I was, right? Because of course I assume my friend is good, right? but I was shocked. I was like, oh my God. And I told her that in my like patent American way, and in her British way, she was like, you know, whatever. Okay, thank you. And then I said, I'll leave a review. Well, I'm really bad at leaving reviews. Diane, don't look at me. I'm really bad at leaving reviews because not because I don't want to, but because I always feel like I'm not doing them justice and I can't put it into the right words. I just put it off. So I put it off. And then like a year later, I said, oh my God, I still have to do that review. And Anna was like, I thought maybe you were just being nice and you didn't really like it. And like Sarah, we all know, we can all tell you, hands down, Sarah's going to go to the retreat and walk away with more friends than she can think of. And she's going to do that obnoxious thing where everyone's like now best friends with everyone. And she's posting on Facebook pictures of her, making the rest of us pissed off and jealous. But Sarah can't see that about herself.
No.
And, you know, and I remember that before the business diagnostic, I had to find a demo and I was listening to an old book I loved. And I was like, God, you know, it's annoying me, right? And I listened to a thriller I was currently doing. And I thought, oh my God, I'm actually good. Don't get me wrong. I don't go around saying that often, but every once in a while you listen to yourself through other people's ears and you think, why do I say all those mean things to myself all the time? Why do I do that? I mean, how does Anna not realize that book she did, next level amazing, right? And you still kind of just go, oh God, there's Daniela going on again.
But there's a really interesting book by I want to say Ben, I'm going to forget his name now. Dan Sullivan is the other author, but it's the first guy I adore, whose name I can't remember. And it's called The Gap and the Gain. And it's the importance of, rather than saying, I'm not as good as I'm going to be in a year's time, like maybe in a year's time, I'll apply to Penguin Random House because then I'll be ready. Instead of doing that, you go, a year ago, what was I doing? And a year ago, I wasn't doing punch and roll. Or a year ago, I was still working my day job. Or a year ago, I was still working with indie authors, and now I'm working for small production companies. You know, there are incremental moves forward that we don't recognize, because it's a bit like when your children grow up or your pets get bigger, and then you see other people's pets or children and you go, oh, they got so tall. And you're like, of course they got tall. 2 years have gone by, you know. But because you're living with yourself or your kids or your pets,
you don't notice
it's all perfectly normal day to day,
Yeah.
isn't it? And you don't take the time. And I think it's really important sometimes just to sit down and go, where was I 6 months ago? And if I grew that much again, where will I be in 6 months' time? Not, I'm not good enough yet, or I wish I was better, or I wish I was Scott Brick. It's more of a forget everybody else. Where am I at? What am I good at?
Yeah.
And it's just so important. I think I say this all the time, we underestimate or we are underwhelmed by our own abilities. We discount all the stuff we do. We forget the fact that I'm terrible with profiles like on Ahab and stuff. And it says, what hobbies do you have? And I'm like, I'm an audiobook narrator. And it says, what things are you good at? I narrate audiobooks. And, what do you do in your spare time? I narrate audiobooks. It's like, oh, hang on. I also sing. I play cricket. I'm a mother to 2 daughters. I don't have any pets at the moment, but, I do a lot of DIY and I love gardening. And suddenly you go, hang on, that was 6 things that I hadn't even mentioned because they're just me. That's not important.
But that's what we were talking about. You being you is what makes you good. So you're never just a narrator. And it's also, see all those things you said. What are you good at? What are you doing? I heard this the other day. If you want to do something and they say, find out your why, you shouldn't just have one why. You should have a lot of whys. The more whys, the better. Why do you ask yourself, why do I want to be a narrator? Not just because I love to read the damn book, right? Because I don't ever want to have another boss again, because I love working with writers, because the more reasons, Anna, it's my hobby. I love doing this. I love doing that. Why do you want to do it? Because this. Pile on the reasons, the descriptions, the who I am, and it all makes you part of I don't want to lose this though.
It's that whole remind yourself why you started, isn't it? You know, when you're doubting yourself and you're wondering whether you're in the right place, remind yourself why you started. And the reason I started was because I didn't want to do anything else. I want to be here, you know, and I want to be here. And today I'm this good. And hopefully in the future, I'll be better. And when I'm better, I'll do better. You know, it is that allowing yourself to be who you are right now, and for that to be enough. And I think
enjoying it too, enjoying it, reveling in it. But I don't want to lose this, sorry, because the questions go down. We've got 2 questions here. Jonathan I think it was Jonathan, wants to know for Anna, when you changed to P and R, how long did it take to master, and what's your ratio now, and what was it before? My coach is pushing me to learn P and R.
So I was really happy with Audacity and my clicking fingers, you know, I was really, really happy. And I was probably 12 or 14 books in with Audacity. And a good year had gone by where people were telling me that unless I moved to Punch and Roll, I couldn't move forward. I couldn't, you know, play in the big leagues. I wouldn't be taken on by publishers, all those things. And you hear all the reasoning and you go, I'm sorry, you must be mistaken, because I'm really good with Audacity. Like my finger clicking is the best finger clicking there is. And I know I said this at the beginning, but it's just so true. And I realized that it was the reluctance to be a beginner. That was my issue. I had moved into this career where I was accepted for who I am. I was actually quite good at it and loved doing it. And the scope for learning was so huge that I'm really happy that I'm never going to be the best narrator I can be, because I could always be better. And that's not about not being good enough. That's about the joy of growing, you know, that idea that you will always be able to move forward. And suddenly I went, okay, so I'm going to have to take on Punch and Roll then. If this is who I want to be and where I want to be, and everybody says this is a thing, I'm either going to have to spend 3 weeks not reading books and just learning Punch and Roll, or, and what I actually did was take a royalty share book that I put a 3-month deadline on, and I Punch and Rolled it. Well, the first week I was going to die. The second week I was going to die slightly less. And by the third week I was like, oh, okay, I can see why this might be a thing.
What were you finding hard about it? What were you finding hard about it?
Oh, please, Daniela, it's a nightmare.
I've only ever Punch and Rolled, so I don't know any other.
So the issue really is it's about mindset again. So when I was using Audacity, because at the time there was no starting and stopping, I would go through click my fingers. I would go through a section and remember to say that I could. Remember to say that I could, and then and like everybody says, you then look at the audio, and if there's 2 clicks, it means the one after is the good one, and you get rid of everything before that, and it takes me no time at all. It takes me no time at all, I used to tell people. Of course, it takes you no time at all, but it's still time. It still means that when you finish your day in the booth and you open the door, you've still got work to do. And that's what it boiled down to. That's what Punch and Roll does. Punch and Roll lets you finish the chapter, get up, leave the booth, and that file's gone. I mean, it really is the best thing there is, but until you're there, you don't believe it. And it's a bit like moving house, getting married, getting divorced. Until you've survived it, you can't really explain it to anybody else other than, tell them the joy of Punch and Roll. So Jonathan,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to tell Jonathan that you need to do it. And it is hard. And I think as I get older, I'm more reluctant to change all the time. And as soon as I realize that it's the reluctance to change and not the thing itself, that makes it a little easier. But it is hard, and it isn't the same. I thought because I was so good at clicking my fingers and doing Audacity, the idea of changing to Punch and Roll made me feel like I'd halved my ratio of work. But actually, I was doing maybe 3 to 1 in Audacity, and then spending an hour, maybe 2 hours editing and listening. And I was also proofing and mastering my own stuff. So suddenly I'm doing 10 to 1 maybe on a book. And an 11-hour book is suddenly taking me 110 hours. Nowadays, a nice nonfiction 11-hour book will take me 22 hours to do. And it goes off to my editor. He processes it. I never see it again. I add in his fee to my fee, and I'm not earning any less money. In fact, I'm earning twice as much because I've then moved on to the next book. And that's what Punch and Roll gives you. It's freedom,
I
ultimately.
need to ask you, because I've just yesterday had somebody ask me to do a book, and I said, oh, I do Punch and Roll, and they said no, they want you to, they
Open
called
roll.
it, you know, like fluff or something. They want me to like just keep talking.
They call it they call it open roll. It just keeps running,
But
and
like,
you just
how will
make the
they
mistakes.
know if I punch out? Why do I want to send them all my embarrassing mistakes? I don't
So
understand
there
how
are
that's easier for them.
you need to speak to Diane, because the editor I recommended to her, that's how he edits. He edits on open roll. So he listens, and when he hears you make a mistake, he knows you're about to make a better job of that sentence. And so he waits, he hears the better sentence, takes out the bad one, and keeps going. And it is fascinating. However, his stories about the sneezes and the stomach belches and the God knows what, you know, the phone ringing and the doorbell going, people just leave it on open roll.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It makes me very okay. So we've got a question. What were your favorite school supplies? And okay, so this is this is because I asked for quirky questions, and you put it in a direct message, so I won't say your name, but you know who you are. She's a regular of ours. In 60 years, will narrators ever be called on to speak like computer-generated speech? I've never thought of it that way. Will people take on that monotone, or will AI learn to breathe and emote like humans? What do you... Oh, okay. Yes, I know we're all really worried about AI taking on our jobs, but did no one else ever see the Jetsons when you were little? And like the video call, and we all thought that was like so space age and so cool and would never happen. And now look at us. It's like when did we stop thinking the future was cool? You know, some cool stuff could happen and we don't know what, and we don't even know what it'll look like. And it could, I mean, now we carry phones in our pockets. We could carry like everything in our, I mean, it's like some things could be cool, couldn't they? We could have a happy ending, guys. It doesn't all have to be doom and gloom. Where like we could work with the robots. What do you think,
Absolutely. I
Anna?
think so very much. I think it's a bit like the Industrial Revolution, isn't it? You know, you expect, you know, the machines are taking all the jobs, and now what are people going to do? And actually, we all found things to do. So it's, and when you think about AI and how much it helps the partially sighted or the, you know, there are so many uses for it already that nobody is questioning. You know,
Yeah.
even if it's from asking Siri what the capital of some country is because nobody can remember, or the name of that actor from that film, I use it all the time, and I don't think to question it, except she's always saying, here is what I found on the internet. And then I have to read it anyway. But hopefully she's going to get more intelligent and better at doing that. And I think AI has a place, but I really don't think it's something we need to worry about. I think it's a constant that is what we, you know, we've done it to ourselves. You know, we invented it, we made it happen because it was useful to us, and now we're complaining that it might be an issue. And you go, I don't actually think it's an issue. I think there will always be space for storytelling, for emotive sharing of information, and there will always be space for just information. And that's what AI does very well.
Because people want to reach out. People will always want to reach out to each other. It's not the words, it's the energy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
saying that, my husband is terrified of Alexa, and we're not allowed to have it in the house, but we do, and I don't know how to turn it off. So I live in fear of him saying anything that might sound like Alexa and turn the voice on somewhere. But some people are like uncomfortable and scared of it. I think I've always kind of liked technology, you know, because if we're scared, then we're scared of the next step.
Mm.
We're always going to be able to tell our stories one way or the other.
I think so. And I think if nothing else, the pandemic has certainly taught me that connection is what it's all about. You know, that being able to, particularly even over Zoom and so on, you know, we've all been commenting about how much we miss out on you know, the full body experience, as it were, you know, the body language, the nuance, that millisecond of delay in this, you know, this cleverness that we have that has allowed us to connect with each other. It isn't the same as sitting down at a table, having a coffee, shaking someone's hand, you know, being present in a room with someone.
Yeah, no, see,
And
I
I
don't
think that
miss any of
connection-
that at all, Anna. I don't miss the full body thing. I haven't dieted in 2 years. No problem not shaking hands. I just hope all you Zoom people don't desert me when everyone goes back to their hugs and kisses.
But that's so curious, isn't it? That's what I'm saying about this moving forward. You know, we worry about AI, but look what we're doing. And I don't think this will ever change. You know, currently I'm not allowed into the United States, and yet I'm able to share all of this with so many friends from all over the world. And you go, how clever are we that we created this? And sometimes people talk about AI as if it was extraterrestrial. You know, it came upon us and we didn't want it. But actually, we all made it.
You're right.
You know,
They do. They act like it's like evil invading, you know.
yeah.
I mean, the guy on Zoom that went and said, my goal in life, I'm going to produce over 8 billion robot generated audiobooks this year. I did want to punch him, and still do, I have to admit. But, and I'm not saying names. They can't sue me for saying that.
But again, as we said right at the beginning, there is so much work out there, and there are so many books that none of us want to read. AI is welcome to them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I don't know. I don't like the idea that if they flood the market with a bunch of rubbish, because then it's a flooded market. I don't.
But Daniela,
like
that's not
that.
how the market works. People don't buy books they don't want to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah. But then how will they
And
even see the
nobody
books
is
they
ever
want to
going to,
listen to?
unless Scott Brick sells his voice, people are going to want to listen to Scott Brick books. So, and in that same way, each of us has a space here.
And actually think about it. With all of our marketing and branding, I don't know about you guys, but if they wanted to create clones, all they'd have to do is go on Google and I'm gone. I mean, they can like
Our information's out there, isn't it?
everything. Everything. I mean, Facebook alone, God knows what Facebook's bringing up memories that I don't even think I have. You know. Oh my God, that hour went fast. So, Anna, looking forward to this school year?
I am actually. I think it's and I think I'm one for you know, a lot of people do January, don't they? They're big on the new year, new start, all those things. I've always been a September girl. August into September for me is an opportunity to pick up a new hobby or start a new course or make a new friend or discover something new. And you go, it's a great time to be doing it. It really is. And I think that's true of all the time. I think every opportunity that we have to interact with people and meet new friends or find new faces, it's all opportunities to use that voice in a book or, you know, listen to that cadence that person speaks with or whatever it is. It's just opportunity. There's so much of it. It's fantastic.
It's going to be so much fun. And I hope you have fun, Sarah, and anyone else going to the retreat this year. I'm so jealous. Lift a drink by those fireplaces and think of us.
Yes, please.
And pumpkin spice lattes all around. And we're doing the Christmas variety show. So we'll be opening doors for that in a few months.
Daniela, I'm going to be really naughty and turn the tables on you and say, in all the years to come, in 100 years' time, when people are listening to this video on YouTube, what piece of information would you like to share with our YouTube audience?
I can't believe you did that. Oh, crap. Now I know how everyone feels when they haven't planned it. Oh my God. Yeah, it's don't be a sheep. Seriously. Decide who you are. Be brave. Decide this is me. And I'm sorry, we all have like years of experience under our belt. We're not 15 years old, right? Own it. Own it. Stand up. This is the time. Be yourself. Age is nothing. All it is experience. Milk that experience for everything you've got and be brave. And just, you know, nothing to lose. So
wonderful. That's great advice. I love that. Love
Thank
that.
you. Anna, how about you?
Oh no, I want to say what you said. Yeah, I'm aware that I've got a couple of favorites at the moment here in the booth. One is your input shapes your outlook. I didn't realize how much I was being affected by my surroundings, by the people I was spending my time with, by their opinions of me. And you can't change people, but you can change people. And the other one is how you do anything is how you do everything. And I think it's really important if you're aiming for, you know, kindness and sharing yourself with people and getting out there and just doing it, whatever it happens to be, you know, you need to do it in every corner of your life, not just in the booth, not just in front of producers, but with your family, with your friends, with the lady at the shop, whoever it is you want to be, go be it, which actually is what you said. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. This was a pure joy. I had so much fun.
Me too. Thank you so much.
I wish you guys luck. This is a brand new year. I mean, to me, I'm acting like it's New Year's, but September 1st is, right? Pumpkin spice lattes, hot drinks, duvets, spooky movies. I want to hear all about it, you guys. Take care.
Lovely.
Have fun. Bye.
Thanks, Daniela.
Bye, Anna. Bye.